What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining. We are going to, for those of you just joining, we're going to be meeting here with Kendall. So he'll be coming on here in just a moment. And yeah, we're going to talk about his new, his new fall meal plan that's available in the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. And we're also going to talk to him about how a raw vegan diet has influenced his athletic performance. So if, for those of you that don't know, Chris, and here he comes, I'm going to bring him on. Chris, raw vegan skateboarder. And so we're going to hear how his skateboarding skills have improved, from eating a raw vegan diet. Oh, there he is.
Hey there. Oh, here,
This
I'll
guy.
put this weight down, this heavy weight.
Oh, yeah.
I'll put this over here for a minute.
This guy's a beast.
How
you doing, brother?
How you doing?
Good, good. You?
I'm doing pretty darn good.
I would love to talk to you today about one, your fall meal plan that's available in the bundle, and also about your athletic performance and how that has been impacted by a raw vegan diet.
Yeah, raw food athleticism, it's a big one for me, because I mean, realistically, that's why I got into raw food. You know, I would love to say I had a really, really empathic, like heartfelt vegan connection right in the beginning, and that was my main motivation. But that actually came afterwards, after I think raw food kind of woke up my heart and shifted my perspective of the world and how things work with time. But I really got into raw foods because I wanted to skateboard better. Distilling it simply down to, I wanted to be able to recover faster from hurting myself, because as a skateboarder and a competitive skateboarder, I hurt myself a heck of a lot, man. Like, I'm 41 now, and I've probably spent probably a good 3 years using crutches or a cane, separate from other injuries outside of skateboarding, which I've probably had another couple of years of being injured from that. Yeah. And I've been really lucky in some ways, in a sense, for this discussion, that, I've broken some of the same bones, not in the exact same spot, but my wrist 4 times, 2 ribs. I fractured my back. I've rolled both ankles hundreds of times. I've completely tore out my ligaments in my left knee, which I didn't know until 20 years later. Oh, wow. My doctor, I got an MRI after a motorcycle accident. He's like, "Do you know that you have no ACL in your left knee?" Like, nope, had no clue, Wow. So I've been through a lot of injuries, and I've put the diet to the test. This last motorcycle accident 3 years ago, which literally nearly killed my girlfriend Camilla and I, in 2 separate ways. We're lucky to be here still, 100% legitimately. I went from, all of a sudden waking up in a hospital to not being able to move. And then when I tried to move, wanting to bawl, crying, because it was just so much pain, because my body was just literally, the doctor's report said, mutilated. To coming back to being able to walk months later, and then a year later really trying to skateboard more effectively, and going into rehab and learning from rehab doctors, really structural balancing exercises, even more than I knew from my past in yoga, because I've been into yoga for 21 years. And yeah, it's been a crazy journey, lots of self-discovery and lots of really diving in, comparing past experiences with myself, but then also newer experiences with rehab specialists who that's what they do for a living, seeing how I recover while on a long-term raw vegan diet. So that's a long-winded way of saying, wow, this is a big subject and lots of fun we can dive into.
Yeah, for sure. I know. And I've been following you for quite a long time. And I have seen, some of these, sports and non-sport related injuries that you've gone through. And it's been pretty fascinating to kind of see, how you've handled it, which has been amazing and very, admirable. And just, I'm curious to know, if you've noticed, like you said, you kind of got into this for the recovery aspect of it initially. Have you noticed, since being on a raw vegan diet, have you been able to recover faster than, previous to this lifestyle, if you were injured, in the last lifestyle you were practicing?
Yeah, absolutely. And the last lifestyle I was practicing, just for clarity, like, I mean, I grew up eating standardly healthy. My mom always made an awesome effort and made a lot of, really nice whole foods based meals that also included some other stuff and included meat and dairy and all those things. But I mean, I moved out when I was 17, and I thrived on, like, like $5,000 to $7,000 a year budget of basically eating like the crappiest foods possible. And for me,
Yeah.
treats were like McDonald's and like bacon double cheeseburger pizzas and beer and
Mm.
cigarettes and pot, right? So like I was a
Yeah.
party animal and a crap food eater. So that's a rocky place to start from, right? But
Yeah.
but I mean, I do also remember like when I was 16, and before I really got into junk food, like healing incredibly well. And I mean, kids do snap back from anything better than ever, like faster than you possibly could as a 40-year-old, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, so in some respects, like in my previous lifestyle before eating junk, yeah, like I recover pretty close, but probably a little faster when I was 16. Um, but as I got into my teens and I, went from that junk to high raw vegan over 4.5 years into my early 20s, comparing that till now, yeah, no, I still heal faster than I did on a whole foods kind of cleaner diet. And I know I heal faster than the average, like by far. So for example, because I've broken this wrist before and after, um, I can tell, and even from X-rays going in, and they like checked my wrist a month and a half later on the first time I broke it when I was raw, and they said that I was like ahead by about not 2/3, by about like it equated to being like I was about 2/3 faster than I would have regularly. So not quite in half the time, but in about 2/3 the time is where they were like, oh, your bone's like healing very fast, right?
Yeah.
Um, just little things like rolling my ankles and stuff like that like recover a lot faster because you have all the antioxidants, you have the anti-inflammatory nutrients, and your body's just way more streamlined, has a lot more energy for healing as opposed to just going towards digesting heavy foods. So I'm
Yeah.
able to respond and recover from those things a lot quicker. um, I also just I pay more attention to all the facets of health and healing. So like making sure that I'm having some movement. Like when you injure yourself, a lot of times people think like, well, it's time to be immobilized. And reality is, no, you still want to move. You just don't do the things that really hurt a lot.
Right.
Still get some pump going on. So I still do that. I get a lot of sleep as much as humanly possible, and then just eat amazing foods. And I find I recover very truthfully in about between 1/2 to 2/3 of the time in relation to an average person in my age group.
Yeah.
And that's what my PT said too when I was recovering from the motorcycle accident, and all the tests we do and stuff. Like I was their star pupil, like they're always really really stoked. And not only because I healed well and fast, but also because I was interested in it and was actually actively participating in lifestyle factors that really
Right.
helped heal. Because a lot of people go there and they're just eating Dunkin' Donuts and having smoke breaks and like don't really want to be there. And as a
Yep.
rehab specialist, you want to see people heal, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine you were quite the oddity for. Yeah, I imagine most people, like you said, they don't want to be there, and I mean,
No.
just in general, we're kind of conditioned to just think that what we eat doesn't necessarily matter, and it's all based on genetics and just outside sources or forces, and so yeah, it's great to see people like you. I'm sure for them coming into their practice. Um, and one thing that I find interesting, how you said that you used to, eat a junk food diet and,
Yeah.
um, all that. And it seems like, again, that's something that's pretty common. I mean, we
Oh,
even
good.
see Olympic athletes on commercials eating McDonald's and things like that. And, we see, there's a lot of professional sports players that eat a lot of fast food and they talk about it. And
Yeah.
so, it's just interesting to see the mindset that most people have regarding the fuel that they put into their body and how they don't necessarily connect all the facets that impacts. like recovery for one.
Yeah.
But have you also noticed like any other aspects of your athletic, performance, whether it be mental or, maybe even like balance or just focus, things like that? Have there been other improvements besides just recovery for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I first kind of want to mention too, like, I think it's just so prevalent in mainstream society to equate health and fitness as separate things, or
Hmm.
rather, sorry, actually as something that is synonymous with each other. So like if you're fit, that you're automatically healthy. And then that's where people think like, well, if I'm really fit, I can get away with eating a bunch of junk because I'm so fit that, it doesn't really matter. But it
Right.
couldn't be further from the truth, and we do see in high level athletes higher levels of degenerative diseases at younger ages because they're blowing through more crap, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're really active and you're pushing your sport, you're probably taking in way more calories, and that's where a lot of them they do just eat a ton of crap. And if you
Yeah.
want longevity in your athletic pursuits, if you want longevity in living a healthy life without going out in parts, then it really stands to reason to fuel yourself with high quality foods that leave low residues and require your body not much energy to process, right?
For sure.
So that is just a big misconception, and like you can be very fit and die the next day of a heart attack, like
Yeah. Yeah.
so, and that happens, it's really sad.
Yeah.
But in terms of like other kind of athletic things outside of just healing, which we could go into much more of that too, it's crazy. Um, but with that, yeah, like I mean, in terms of just like endurance or explosiveness or balance is a funny one, like I mean, balance, like all the faucets of fitness, you really have to work on, like it definitely stands to reason if you're healthy and clear-minded, you're probably just going to be naturally a little more inclined to have better balance and better flexibility and better strength. But it's not a given. Those are all things that you require to develop and to put time and energy into.
Yeah.
And for myself, skateboarding, I mean, it does require all those things, right? But it is in part dependent upon what you practice. So skateboarding, for example, most of my skateboarding time has been going fast and going for things that take a little bit of gusto, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the faster you go, paradoxically, the less balance you need. The
Mm.
slower you go, the more balance you need, and also certain tricks like manual tricks where you're balancing on two wheels require a lot more balance, and that's always been my weak suit, right? So
Mm.
um, I'd say with raw food, your propensity to be able to improve in any area of fitness vastly goes up,
Yeah.
but you still got to work on it. You still definitely got to work on it. I noticed that typically, I mean, not always, but typically, I can go longer than most people, of my age or of other ages and still have like energy. The
Yeah.
only delimiting factor is previous injury, and if, those actually limit my ability to keep going, because, since the car accident and stuff, my ankle can only take so much flicking before it starts to create a little bit of inflammation in there, which then
Yeah.
goes away way faster than it would on any other diet. But I still, have injuries that could prevent going quite as long as I would otherwise, right? But
Mm. Yeah.
um, yeah, definitely benefits. Absolutely. I honestly do not believe I'd be able to skateboard anywhere near the level I am right now or live as comfortably pain-free as I do if I was on
Mhm.
any other variety of diet, any other type of diet.
For sure. Yeah. I kind of thought about, when you said, um, whether whatever diet you're eating, you still have to work at it. I feel like that translates, I mean, to so many things, even just the raw vegan diet. A lot of people, think that even if they just eat, they could be eating the perfect diet, but they kind of neglect some of the other aspects of the lifestyle, which are also so important. And so
Yeah.
you still have to work at the diet holistically, even if your diet by itself is pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, have you seen, um, you know, the the traits that it takes to be a good athlete and to be, to really improve your skill with athletics? Has that transferred over to other aspects of your life and like maybe helped you with, discipline and things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you kind of hit it on the head there, I think, for sure. Like, it doesn't matter what we're looking at. It requires that kind of that viewpoint in order to come to a level of success, you know? And so skateboarding, for example, has just taught me perseverance and to try again, and patience, and to enjoy the process. And that completely spilled over into skateboarding, even beyond, or sorry, into raw food. Um, and even beyond that too, it kind of taught me that it's okay to be a little different, to be a little counterculture, to have a subgroup of like community and stuff like that, right? And to sometimes be kind of a lone wolf and be alone and do your own thing, and you know, all those kinds of things, right? So
Yeah.
I think all of those things really helped me find my footing in a raw food, raw vegan lifestyle, and to kind of have a running start at it in some ways compared to some other people.
Hmm. Sure. Very cool. So Sherry likes fruit. Hey
Yeah.
Sherry, thanks for joining us.
Sure,
She
pal.
threw in a question. She would like to know about supplements and if we take any supplements. So, being an athlete, have you found the need to take any sort of supplements to boost your performance?
No, no, actually, you know, the only supplement that I have utilized in the last 17 and a half years as a raw foodist is vitamin B12, because after 6 years, I got my first blood test, then 7 years, then 8 or 9, and then nine. Like, I took, I think, 5 or 6 blood tests over the last part of my first decade raw, and
Hmm.
my B12 was steadily going down. And I started to become symptomatic around my first decade, or around like 10 years raw. And really what was happening was I was unable to cope with higher levels of stress, and I'd be more easily stressed out, a little less clarity of thought. And I got my blood test, and they were like, you're actually deficient, like clinically deficient at this point. And so I started supplementing B12, and I went through periods of time where I supplemented more and where I supplemented less. Um, but it is the only supplement that I regularly utilize over the last 7+ years. And other than that, after the motorcycle accident, because that was in the middle of summer, actually it was like July 31st. Anyways, it was in the middle of summer,
Okay.
and all of a sudden we're hospitalized, and not even by a window, and like inside the hospital for weeks during a time when we're doing massive bone healing.
Right.
I decided to also supplement vitamin D,
Okay.
a vegan vitamin D3, just to make sure I had loads of that during the next months, because that also led us into the winter and basically missed the half of summer, and then had a long winter without much heat, because we weren't able to travel really during that winter either. So
Sure.
I supplemented vitamin D for a few months until I went to Costa Rica in February.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Talk about the worst time to have something like that happen. You got summertime, which I mean, personally, I wait for all winter. I
Yeah,
love summer. Yeah.
yeah.
So to have that
Oh man,
time to.
I was just a few weeks before going to the first ever Canadian Fruit Festival,
Oh,
and then the Woodstock Fruit Festival after that, and yeah, just like really hyped on skating and cruising, and
yeah.
Camilla and I were just a new couple and like exploring, and we wanted to travel, and but then yeah, all of a sudden, boom, life's
Dang.
life's got something different for you, right? So you you
Yeah.
you move ahead, and you go with what you got.
Yeah. You got to roll with it, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, glad to see you both recovered nicely. So that's great. What would you say, uh, as far as, do you have like top, you know, top aspects of the raw diet that have made the most significant difference for you? Like if somebody was wanting to, if there's an athlete out there,
Mhm.
um, what are some of the important aspects of the raw vegan diet that you believe are some of the best and most beneficial aspects to help their performance?
Well, definitely number one, and I mean it's one that we'll all probably say until the cows come home, is come home and they're our friends, and they're not worried about anything, right?
Right.
Is that it really does require eating way more than you possibly think, you know, like a diet of complete abundance. This is literally a lifestyle where every single meal you can eat as if it's your last meal before the electric chair. Like, eat until you're going to fall over. Eat until you genuinely do not enjoy it anymore. Like, if you even have a spot of room for more enjoyment and it tastes good, whole, fresh, ripe, raw foods, they tell you when you've had enough, and it's more than you ever thought. So that'd probably be number one. Just like, find the fruits, vegetables you love the most, eat with complete abandon, complete abundance, and continually seek to find some new friends, some new foods, some new greens and fruits that are either seasonal or available, or whatever that you may find you enjoy, because it's, variety is the spice of life, but simplicity in the meal is a beautiful thing to gain some experience with.
Yeah, definitely. Just one thing that kind of pops into my mind as well is maybe like hydration, hydration. Athletes, hydration has such a big impact on our muscle, function and recovery and all that. So yeah, that's one thing personally I've experienced, is just being so much more hydrated. I feel like that has, really impacted my personal just athletic performance. So yeah, that's there's just so many benefits to eating this way, whether it's for athletic performance or just general living. And so yeah, I just think it's so cool to see people like you that are performing at high levels. I'm
trying.
just here.
I'm still trying.
Yeah.
the truck tried to stop me, but I'm still trying my damnedest.
It did. Exactly. I mean, not even a truck can stop Chris Kendall. So show that what he's doing is working. So yeah, I mean, I guess maybe we can transition a little bit towards talking about the your fall meal plan, and this is a brand new ebook that you've got for people that's in the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. And so how did that come about, and kind of, can you give us just an idea of what that entails?
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. And it's funny. I'm gonna paint it with an unsexy picture, because it's just the reality. I absolutely know the value of it and how it can really help a lot of people. But really, where it started from was, I've wrote recipe books, and I love to coach people and help people where they are. And people have asked me, like, hey, like, can you like make me a meal plan, or can you do this? And usually I say no. Like, I find it's way more beneficial to start to understand the seasons and seasonal availability, and start to understand, like, what foods you enjoy the most, and just buy an abundance of those. And like, oftentimes meal plans can actually overcomplicate, because you might be buying blueberries when it's, the middle of winter, and they're 3 times the price, and they're half as good. And, they're from halfway across the world, and, it just can be complicated sometimes. So I was always just like, no, like, I have my app, you can look up stuff, create something. And, but eventually I gave in, and I was like, you know what, I want to make meal plans, but I want them to be as effective as humanly possible. So I came up with the concept of seasonal meal plans, having, like, winter, spring, summer, and fall. And the only one I haven't made yet is actually summer. I took a siesta this summer getting ready for this, actually. And so I made this fall meal plan to really kind of fine tune it with really simplistic eating, in the way that I would recommend as the backbone of a healthy, holistic raw food diet, with, like 1 to 5 ingredients for most recipes, pretty simple and yet still flexible, from ingredients that are seasonal, at least within your hemisphere. When I say seasonal, it may not be seasonal in your city, or in your province, or even necessarily country, but within your hemisphere at least, so that it's coming from closer to home. And if it's within your continent, that's even better, but kind of closer to home foods, and stuff that's well food combined, digests really, really easily, but yet is super tasty, and to really showcase to that abundance, because I provide 2 different aspects of the meal plan, where it's like, gives you the shopping list as well as the recipe breakdown for like an average moderately active woman and an average moderately active guy, which obviously requires a little bit more total calories, so that you can kind of fine tune. And, you know, if you're more active, or if you weigh more than my moderately active guy, then, you know, you might add in more. But tried to cover as many bases as I could with tasty recipes that I've made for the years, and some new ones as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it looks amazing, and the recipes all look delicious. And I do love that you make the recipes simple, but they're still like really delicious. And like, I mean, I think they would satisfy pretty much anybody, that's just coming off of a standard American diet, and they want something that's, especially like the dinner meals you've got. Those are some really good ones. Do you have a favorite that's in there?
That is really tough. I mean, it's funny because the first thing that came to mind was persimmons. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's probably what I'm going to have for lunch here today, is just a bunch of persimmons. And that's as simple as it gets, right? Like, I mean, in the book, there are recipes that is like a melon for breakfast or persimmons for lunch. And then, of course, there are, like smoothies and fruit soups and, puddings and stuff like that. But in terms of a fancier recipe, because I know that's just me being a little bit of a jackass, I'd probably either say the pad thai or the cowboy mashed potatoes. But then part of me wants to say the borscht too, because I haven't had that for a long time, and that is just a seasonal treat that is so like earthy and awesome. I'd say those. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna give those a try for sure. And I forgot when we were talking about the athletic performance, the question that I'm sure is the number one question you get, and we can't go an interview talking about athletics and the raw vegan diet without talking about protein. Have you had a problem with getting enough protein and fueling your body and building and repairing and all that without where do you get your protein?
Yeah, no, it's the most common question, absolutely. And I mean, the simplest answer is, I get my protein from the essential amino acids that are prevalent across all fruits and vegetables in the amounts that we're designed to be taking in. Most people get more protein than they need from, damaged foods that are either processed and or cooked, and actually can prevent the absorption of some of the protein that they think they're getting. So a lot of people are getting far less protein than they think. But beyond that, by eating fresh fruits and vegetables, it's just so much easier for the body to just take and then absorb and assemble essential amino acids in their individual constituents, instead of needing to break down the covalent bonds of proteins and turn them into individual amino acids that may or may not be still viable and use them. So yeah, that's the short answer. I mean, I get anywhere between usually around like 5 at the low end and up to about like 12% protein, depending on what kind of food I'm eating and how much of I'm eating. And I think that's another aspect that's kind of important to consider, is most people, they don't look at it as a percentage of their calories, most grams, which to me is nonsensical, because if you're like a certain weight, or if you're like of a certain activity, especially a certain activity, that's going to be vastly different, right? Like someone just like, oh, well, you just need like 1 gram per every pound of body weight. And it's like, well, what if I'm working out like 5 hours a day compared to just 1 hour a day? Does that make a difference? And they're like, oh, well, no, it's per pound of body. It makes no sense, And the reality is, the more active you are, the more total food you need, and your total amount of protein goes up in proportion. But the percentage of protein you require overall, it doesn't really change, Some may argue that, a few extra protein percentage points, if you're incredibly active or doing certain strength training, could be beneficial. Or it also can be argued with study that a little bit higher levels of protein can help you retain muscle mass if you're in like either a slight caloric deficit, or if you're just in a maintenance stage. Sure, maybe. But this is such a small amount compared to what the average person thinks is required. Our needs for protein are so much lower than most people think, and we can easily get them with eating enough calories from whole plant foods. And in fact, it's almost, I won't say impossible, but it is very challenging to not get enough protein if you're eating a whole foods based diet that is rich in calories and you're making sure you're getting enough to support your athletic endeavors. Adding in some stuff, like if you want to boost your protein, eat more greens. They're like the masters of protein and dense alkaline minerals.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can add in some nuts and seeds. I love hemp seeds. You could add in sprouted legumes, to bump up certain amino acids, which in the past people think like, and this isn't information I hear much people say, but like, they're higher in leucine and lysine, which,
Oh, yeah.
people are like, oh, well, those amino acids are like a little bit lower in the raw vegan diet, so you must need to get them. So eat lots of sprouts. And the reality is we're taking in the standard information for which amino acids are prevalent in the standard diet, and then moving it and assuming that, well, in the raw food diet, if we're not getting those same parameters because we're not eating those same foods, that we must be deficient. But I mean, I did my first 10 years as raw foodist with almost no sprouted lentils or anything like that ever. And I never noticed any benefits to adding them, but I do like eating them because I enjoy them. And it's great to have some diversity in the diet. Right. So yeah, it's not really a concern is the short answer. I'd like to go long-winded and go on some tangents with all this stuff because I'm so passionate about it, but it's really not a big concern. And yeah, just eat according to your needs, do the movements, and make sure you're eating enough to steadily either gain or maintain your weight. And that's the last thing I'll quickly mention here too, just to draw on it a little more.
Yeah.
When I was injured, because I wasn't able to skateboard, like, I mean, I got on my skateboard, I think in the winter. So I got on my skateboard like 5 months after the accident and was scared to death because if I fell, it was going to hurt a lot and I could have re-broke something maybe, right? But I couldn't stay off of it. But it wasn't until like really a year after that I was able to push myself and like really feel like I was skating again and not be afraid all the time. So in that year after the accident, I did a lot of, rehabilitation. I was, in the gym lots. The first 6 months was really just corrective exercises to rebalance my musculature and work up those joints and all the tissues there. But after that, for 6 months, I hit the gym hard for strength training and, like hit personal bests and like squats and deadlifts and bench presses and all these different things, lots of different stuff. And in that period of time, 100% raw diet, just eating simple foods. And I include maybe a little more vegetables than some do. And I like mushrooms and I use peas and stuff like that, which are a little higher in protein, but still a low-fat raw vegan diet that would be considerably lower in protein than most people would think. I was able to go from like 155 was the lowest I got right after the accident. Before the accident, I was at 180. I went down to 155. And then I built all the way up to 198 over that year from the beginning day of the accident. So you can definitely build muscle. You don't have to be like concerned about protein and scooping in protein isolates and powders and stuff like that. It just requires eating enough and eating some variety.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, back in the in my early days, like right when I started getting into this lifestyle, I was taking proteins like pea protein and hemp proteins, and then I just taking them, and I didn't notice a drop off at all in my performance or my ability to build muscle. So yeah, it's completely overblown, and people like you are showing that you can heal, you can perform at a high level, just eating fruits and vegetables. So that's awesome. Do you have like a preferred schedule of like lifting weights? Do you lift every day? Do you lift a couple times a week? Do you have like a schedule that has worked best for you?
Yeah, it depends on what I'm trying to achieve. When I was really lifting for bodybuilding, like I wanted to get as big as I could, as fast as I could. And I was also just wanting to push myself because, like I said, I couldn't really skateboard. So I was like, at least not at the level and the way I wanted to. So I was like, I'm going to build my body up and help fix my back. Because that's like an old back injury I had was I fractured my back skateboarding. And what I found was when I did this corrective exercise, since getting hit by the truck and then started doing like squats and deadlifts, my back all of a sudden, a 10-year-old back injury basically disappeared, right? So I was really stoked on that and rebalancing and using my posterior chain a lot more, which anyways, we could go all into that, but that's a different thing. So So when I was really doing that, when I was like really building a lot and focusing in on the gym as my main source of exercise,
Hmm.
I preferred to go in the morning before breakfast on an empty stomach. I'd wake up, I would have maybe a little bit of computer work, I'd do some water, drink some water, and then I'd go to the gym and I'd go for usually between minimum 45 minutes and up to an hour and a half is usually where I'd be. I might
Okay.
be in the gym for 2 hours because I liked to take my time and have a shower and a sauna afterwards if I could. But
Yeah.
typically I was doing a strength training routine with decent amount of warm up, a decent amount of space between each rep, especially on the bigger compound exercises like squats and deadlifts,
Hmm.
supplementing that with stretching in between or some other kind of like core work in between, and getting that rest period so that I'm recovering really good and can push it a lot harder. And usually what I did too was I tried a bunch of different routines, and I think what you do is dependent upon your level of fitness, of course, and how new you are to it.
Yeah.
Um, but what I found my best balance in was a upper lower split,
Mm.
and I would just do that 4 times a week. So like Monday I'd go and I'd do squats and deadlifts and core, and some leg presses and some split squats and some upper body mobility and flexibility. And then the next day on Tuesday I'd go and I'd be doing like pull-ups and bench press and push presses and
Mm.
overhang rows and then some isolation stuff and lower body mobility, separating the flexibility on the opposite days because you can actually increase the chances of injury if you're doing flexibility training on the same muscle groups you're working that day. So separating those is really beneficial. And then Wednesday I'd have off. And then I just repeat again on the Thursday, Friday, with the caveat that sometimes if I lifted real heavy on the deadlift, I wouldn't do it twice a week. I'd just do that once a week.
Okay.
And sometimes I change it up too, so that the Monday Tuesday was like the higher volume, slightly lower weight, and then the Thursday Friday was like the lower volume, higher weight, and just kind of trying to tax myself out in different ways. And for me, that worked really good for putting on muscle mass and increasing strength, with maybe a slight favoring of putting on muscle mass rather than pure strength, which I don't mind being a little bit about the fluff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Um, and you've been into yoga for many years.
Yeah.
Ha
Yeah.
would you say that yoga is an important part of your kind of athletic training and regimen, and how has that impacted maybe your longevity and or just any other aspect of your athletic life?
Yeah, I'd say yoga has impacted me positively in any conceivable realm. I mean, realistically, actually, it was the impetus that got me into health and into nutrition because
Mm.
that's what I found first when I was like falling apart. I found yoga that led me towards, more towards karma, which then led me towards diet, and then nutrition became a huge passion. And I think, between just the perspective shifts as well as, the depth of healing the modality has, with breath work and with perspective and with, um, the diet as well, like all of it has just really, really helped me be more grounded, be more flexible in life in
Mm.
all ways, with my body and with my mind,
Yeah.
as well as just more appreciative of what I have. And so, the thing I love about yoga is that it can suit any mood and any body. So there's so many different styles, and there are a couple that I practice the most, but I've tried to try out a ton of different styles.
Hmm.
And depending upon what my energy is, I use different ones. Like, for example, I started with power yoga because I was all like yin and just like, or yang rather, just like power, got to be strong and flexible,
Yeah.
fast, and going for it. And over time, I met Kundalini, which was more of an energetic form of yoga, which also tests your mental barriers and your body mind awareness. And then I found Yin yoga, which really complemented all my other Yang practices. Like skateboarding's pretty intense and like beat you up, and Yin is
Yeah.
the opposite, where it's like relax and like melt and like foster like more uh, speed healing through just letting things float through your body and noticing things and breathing into them. So I found that all of them really help to balance my athletics out depending upon what I'm looking for and needing. And, if I'm not able to skateboard hard, well, I might be doing more of a yang practice to build my muscle and my stamina and like test my flexibility in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I'm skateboarding a ton, well, then I'm more drawn to doing the Kundalini and the Yin yoga and helping to complement the skateboarding instead of just driving that yang, 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 right? Like trying to seek that balance physically, mentally, energetically, so that when I am skateboarding, I'm feeling more calm and even and less achy and more flexible in all ways.
Wow. Yeah, that is so cool. Ed, man, this has been a really great interview, and I've learned a lot through this, and I appreciate all the experience that you have and that you share, and just the way that you do it is so inviting and supportive, and so thank you for sharing all of this. Is there any, kind of as we wrap up here, is there any, kind of last message or, tip or anything like that that you want to leave people with as we wind down?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you as well. And just also want to acknowledge, I appreciate you and your book in the bundle and being a part, and the energy you brought into both is awesome. I think what you're doing is really important in helping a crap ton of people, right? It's so awesome. So stoked to be on here with you too, man. And what I would say, and I might wrap this up many times, but I just think that the more we come to love ourselves in thought, word, and action, the more abundant we're going to be, and the more we're going to be able to help other people. And I found that through yoga and through food, and to me, like, when we're giving ourselves enough sleep, when we're giving ourselves high quality food, when we're giving our body exercise, when we're giving abundantly something that's within us that we can share with someone else, it lights us up and it helps us achieve higher levels of health, which provides an example for others. So I just think, like, to me, fruit is love made physical from Mother Nature. And the more you feed yourself loving foods, the more love you're going to experience in your life, and the more love you're going to have to share.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's great. I couldn't agree more. Fruit is like the most loving gift that nature, can give. And it's delicious and it's awesome. So,
Awesome.
What's not?
that nature, she's just ingenious, right? She's like, hey, how can I spread my seeds around? Hey, I'll make something awesome around these seeds. Like, thank you. That's nice.
I know, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
Again, man, thank you so much. And just to remind everybody, we have one more day after today to get the raw vegan bundle. So it's ending tomorrow, November 1st, at 12:59 p.m. 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And there's 55 brand new raw vegan products, including ebooks and recipe books and meal plans and courses. And so definitely go check it out. It's something like a crazy $3,200 worth of material that you're getting for $50. Over 1,000 raw vegan low fat recipes. It's like, if there was ever a time to really stock up on your raw vegan education and recipes, this is it. So definitely.
I was just going to say, like, between all of us, because, we got like 50 people in it, ranging from the first three years or 4 years in the raw food lifestyle to people who've been living it for like 45 years, plus, and who have learned from others who have lived it for 40 years before that too. And like, I was just trying to think, like, the bundle is like $3,200, but it'd be interesting to know how many years, how many centuries of raw food experience there is poured into this bundle to help make it easier for everyone here. And If I could ask you one other thing, actually, because I
Yep.
would love to share this interview on my YouTube channel in the coming months. I probably won't do it like today or tomorrow, but in the coming months.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
I also want to make sure that they know about your two books and your book that's in the bundle, but separate from the bundle, and where
Yeah.
they can find it so they can find you in that book after. So I'm just curious. So what is your new book, 5-Star Digestion, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that and where we can find it and you outside of this?
Of course. Yeah. So I came out with my new ebook. It's called 5-Star Digestion. And it's really just a culmination of the things that I have learned over the last 10 years of living in this lifestyle. It brings into, focus the dietary, the lifestyle, and the environmental factors that
Yeah.
go into gut health, essentially. I grew up with, really bad constipation that I didn't even realize at the time until I got into this lifestyle and I experienced how elimination was supposed to work. But,
Yeah. So
I
infrequently.
yeah, exactly. Multiple days without having a bowel movement.
Mhm.
It would come out dry and hard, and it would smell just awful. And
Yeah.
so, once I got into this lifestyle and I was going every single day, multiple times a day, comfortably, and
Yeah.
it smelled nothing like it used to.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was almost odorless. And so
Yeah.
it's like, it was such an eye-opening experience. And then that on top of all the people that I've worked with, helping them with their health. Almost every single person has some sort of digestive issue that they're trying to overcome, whether it's just gas and bloating or whether it's something like chronic constipation. Seems like everybody is trying to really improve their digestive health. And so all of that kind of pushed me into, coming out with this book. And I really, again, I wanted to focus more of the spotlight. I wanted to focus the spotlight evenly on dietary, lifestyle, and environmental factors.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I came up with, it's called the Flora Power Protocol.
Nice. Nice. I love it.
Essentially, it's an acronym so it's 10 principles that I have found to be very important for gut health, and Flora, which is the first 5 letters, is essentially how you build up your good flora, how you invite those good bacteria into your intestinal tract that help us so much with our overall health. And then the power, the last 5 letters, that is how we give power to our flora. We empower them to essentially, live their best life, to have a great time in our intestines, and to, keep the community solid and keep the community healthy. And, it allows them to essentially, exert their amazing benefits to their full potential.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the concept of the book. It's really building up the flora, giving them the support that they need to do their best work, and really support all the phases of the digestive process, whether it's the reduction process where we chew it down really well, and then the enzymatic process to break it down after that, the absorption of the nutrition that we're getting, the utilization of the nutrition that we absorb, and then the proper elimination of it, so that we're keeping everything flowing smoothly. And so, yeah, that's the book, and I'm super excited. Thank you. I'm super excited to get it out and for people to really start putting these principles into practice, because I know that for me, like I said, I was really in bad shape with my colon health, and I didn't even know it until I got into this lifestyle and really started to feel what true health was. And so that is what I hope this book will help others do as well. And I've gotten great feedback so far, and so I'm really excited for more people to start putting it into practice.
Awesome, man. That's so awesome. So where can they find it too?
Oh, yeah.
Outside of the bundle. Obviously, right now, if you're listening to this live, you're going to grab it in the bundle, but otherwise.
Yeah, so after the bundle, so after tomorrow, it'll be on my website at myrawintuition.com.
Yeah.
You can go to my bio in Instagram here, and it'll be, I'll have the link in my link tree. So just click the link in my bio, and you can find my books.
Nice.
So you can get there. But yeah, myrawintuition.com is my website, and that's where I've got all my stuff for people to browse through and see if anything resonates with them, and they can pick it up there.
Sweet, man. Yeah, no, I think that's so awesome and so important because, like you said, like people can come to this lifestyle sometimes too and just like be forcing food and, all of a sudden think like, I got to eat 2 pounds of greens today. And like, there is an approach, right? And I know you outline it in your book to help people build their digestive flora and, like build that whole, the whole microbiome up in a nice way. So you're not just having a hard time right off the bat. And, I always loved Gandhi's quote, chew your drink your food, and my last little addition to that too is like a lot of people always say you are what you eat, but really you are what you absorb. So you want 5-star digestion, right? So
For
that's just,
sure. For sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sweet.
And thank you for asking about that. Yeah.
Of course. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, it's always a pleasure to connect with you, Chris. Appreciate everything you're doing and for sharing your time with us. And again, where can people find out more about you? I'm not sure if I asked that.
It's all good. No, you can find out of me, The Raw Advantage. Everything is The Raw Advantage, just THERAW Advantage, on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, some other stuff. I don't know, Twitter. But anyways, yeah, my website. That's probably the best place. Why would I say that other stuff? Really, my website's the best one, therawadvantage.com. And yeah, check that out. Got a free app too. So if you've already got the bundle, get my free app.
For sure. Yeah, it's a great app, and I love your website too. It's awesome. It's great.
Thanks,
People have got so much good information on there. So everybody go check that out. Definitely. If you're not already following Chris on social media, where have you been? Go do that. It's a perfect place to start. And, that's where I got a lot of my information in the beginning, where I started to build that foundation of great, understanding of health and nutrition. And I still, learn from Chris up to, and I've been doing this for a decade now. And so Chris is still giving me information that is improving my lifestyle and my health. And so he's a great resource for anybody out there that needs a little guidance. So definitely check him out. Right. Sounds good. Thanks again, brother. I will catch you later. And thank you everybody else for joining us and hanging out for this Sunday morning.
See you guys.
Right. Yep. See you guys.